In the dead of night, when the world is asleep, some places never rest. This is the story of an abandoned asylum, where shadows move on their own, whispers fill empty hallways, and the cries of the past echo endlessly. Tonight, we take you inside the haunting of the abandoned asylum. Brace yourself. Act 1. The history of the asylum. The asylum was built in the early 1900s, a massive building designed to house patients with mental illnesses. At first, it was a place of hope, but overcrowding, poor conditions, and cruel treatments turned it into a place of horror. By the 1950s, rumors began to spread. Patients would disappear, strange experiments were conducted, and some said the building itself seemed alive. After a string of unexplained deaths, the asylum was shut down in 1962, abandoned to the elements. But some say it was never truly empty. Act 2. The first encounter. Our story begins with a group of friends who dared to explore the asylum one Halloween night. They were thrill seekers, looking for a scare. They got far more than they bargained for. Inside, the air was heavy, and the smell of mold and decay filled their noses. The walls were covered in graffiti, and old hospital beds lay scattered in the hallways. One of them joked, "Looks like a horror movie set," but no one laughed. As they moved deeper into the building, they heard it. A faint, rhythmic tapping sound. It seemed to follow them, coming from somewhere just out of sight. At first, they thought it was the wind, but then they heard whispers, soft, indistinct voices echoing down the hall. They shone their flashlights, but the beams only revealed empty corridors. Act 3. The shadows in the hall. Things took a darker turn when they entered what appeared to be the old operating theatre. The walls were lined with rusted tools, and a cracked mirror hung crookedly on the wall. That's when they saw it, a shadowy figure darting across the room. They convinced themselves it was just a trick of the light, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger. As they turned to leave, one of them swore they saw a face in the cracked mirror, a pale, hollow-eyed figure staring back at them. They ran out of the room, but the whispers followed them, growing louder and more insistent. It was as if the asylum didn't want them to leave. Act 4. The spirit of the nurse. Desperate to find a way out, they stumbled upon an old file room. Inside, they found records dating back decades, files of patients who had lived and died in the asylum. One file stood out, a nurse named Maria, who had worked there until her mysterious death in 1947. Maria was said to have cared deeply for the patients, but after her death, staff reported seeing her spirit wandering the halls, weeping for those she couldn't save. Just then, they heard it, a soft, sorrowful sobbing echoing through the halls. They followed the sound, their curiosity outweighing their fear. But as they turned the corner, they froze. There she was, the ghostly figure of a nurse, her face hidden by her long dark hair. She stood motionless, but the air around her felt heavy, almost suffocating. As they backed away, the figure vanished, leaving only the sound of distant footsteps echoing down the hall. Act 5. The final escape. Now in full panic, they ran through the maze-like hallways, the whispers turning into angry shouts. Doors slammed shut behind them, and shadows seemed to reach out from the walls. They finally made it out, collapsing onto the grass outside. But as they looked back at the asylum, they saw a figure standing in the broken window of the operating room, a shadowy silhouette watching them leave. The group never returned to the asylum, and they never forgot what they saw. To this day, locals say the spirits of the asylum are restless, trapped by the horrors that happened within its walls. Some even claim that Maria still roams the halls, mourning the souls she couldn't save. Would you dare explore an abandoned asylum? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more terrifying tales. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.